Welcome, Guardians. This is BetaChieftain. I'm here today with dropslash.
Hello.
And we just wanted to do a quick feedback, kind of a reactions little mini episode to the Sleeper Simulant, which the quest started yesterday, and for a lot of people it completed today. So we just wanted to talk a bit about that. And so, Drop, what are your initial reactions to the whole Sleeper Simulant quest?
I thought the quest itself was interesting. I think there were a lot of people who were concerned that, they're gating content. First we have to pay for things. Now it's time gated, and it was literally like, wait 1 day.
True.
Which is pretty standard for, like, if you're familiar with, like, MMOs and that style of game, waiting a day isn't really a big deal.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I didn't think it was that crazy. I mean, I sold the whole thing. It was fun. And the weapon itself is absolutely gorgeous. It looks so good.
Yeah, and I guess for me, I liked the quest. The missions were kind of fun. My one disappointment in just being a lore guy is just there's lore there, and we're going to talk about that here in a second. But just the missions themselves, I was really missing kind of, a ghost dialogue, like with Paradox, right? So we had kind of these side things with Paradox, and we got some additional dialogue and things. And personally, I was kind of hoping that at some point in this quest, there was going to be, just the tiniest bit of ghost dialogue or Rasputin or just something, kind of lore-based that was going to pop up there.
Yeah, I agree. But like moving forward a bit, it may have been difficult on the designers of this particular quest part, just sort of knowing how they were going to roll this out. My guess is that Paradox has probably been in the works for a while because it involves such deep lore with the vanilla content.
Yeah.
Whereas I think when we first heard about the Sleeper Simulant at the very start, it was like, hey, this is going to be the year 2 Gallarhorn. So I think they needed to make it a little bit more accessible, and they needed to get it up and running very quickly. They probably didn't have enough time, not enough time, but time to really dig deep to pull stuff out of it.
Right, and you got different priorities, so It might just not have been the top thing. So yeah, let's talk really quick about. And there is some lore there. It's all in text form, but there's a little bit there. And so this quest, it really started out a while ago with us collecting these 4 fusion rifles that we found by killing enemies, out in the world. And I can't remember where I got all mine. I think most of them were on Earth. I don't know if you remember.
I thought it was one on each planet.
Maybe. Yeah, maybe that, because it's been a while, I did it within the first week or so, and I can't remember. But each weapon, what's interesting, so when you turned in those fusion rifles, each one had this label on it. It was Dvalin, and then a Raz 30, so basically Rasputin, and then FR00, and then depending on what number you had found, a number. So I did a little bit of digging, and found that, so Dvalin was actually he was a dwarf that was referred to in Old Norse in the Voluspa epic poetic Eddas. So he was this dwarf who basically forged this magic sword. So that's where that came from.
Yet another reference to swords. It seems to be a recent trend.
Yes, and now I'm kind of hoping that he pops up again, and there's a Sleeper Simulant sword or something
that ricochets off enemies onto other ones.
Yeah, you could throw it, throw your sword. I don't know, but so, and what's interesting is when you read the what do I want to call it, the flavor text on the prototype rifles, it says that there was this what do I want to call it, subroutine, this protocol called Dvalin Forge, which was basically arm all the people. and so basically these prototype fusion rifles we get, I'm assuming those are what the people were given.
Oh man, no wonder we lost against the darkness.
Right. If they were just given a bunch of prototypes.
Everybody has fusion rifles.
True. And so I thought that was interesting. That's a little bit of lore there that if you turn them in too quickly, it's hard to go back and and find that because it's not really anywhere. But that is technically what this was. It was this subroutine called Dvalin Forge, where they would Rasputin or whoever worked for him was going to arm all the people with these fusion rifles as a last resort.
So yeah, and it's interesting too that normally, and on sort of a meta level, it's easy to track things that you've received, like whether you've opened chests or not, if you've gotten calcified fragments or you found dead ghosts. That data is available to us, but for some reason these 4 fusion rifle pieces were not. There's no way to track if you've got them or not.
Right. I'm kind of weird. If you ever go on like Xbox DVR and look at my screenshots, I just have the most random screenshots, but they're all like lore based. So every time I'd get one of these weapons and turn it in, I'd take a screenshot so I could remember what it said.
Yeah, most of my screenshots are the same way.
Yeah. The best gameplay is staring into the sky looking for birds,
Yes. Hey, it took screenshots of them and a video.
There you go. So once we turned all these in, it gets a little more interesting once we start the official quest that unlocked yesterday. So, I mean, we go through, we get a kind of a cryptic cipher thing we have to decode. And the most interesting part is eventually you get this Ikelos fusion core. And that's really where kind of the rest of the lore drops, is just little bits and hints and pieces that are kind of scattered inside that fusion core.
Yeah, well, are you sure that's the most interesting part? So here's the most
to me it was.
Here's the most interesting thing that I've noticed, and this ties back to a tiny piece of lore that has been driving me crazy since it was first introduced in the game. So once we track this thing down, we get this transponder, and we gotta enter these codes.
Right.
And the codes are a series of symbols. One symbol, highly recognizable. It is the symbol of Rasputin.
Yep.
It is the shape of the doors in all his areas, like it is on Pocket Infinity. We see that symbol a lot, so we know it means Rasputin. But
Yes.
there's another symbol there. That symbol is much less common. But it sort of, you mentioned this in our second podcast about the presence of Charlemagne, possibly. So now there's a chance that this second symbol could be the symbol of the Charlemagne Warmind. And as far as I know, that symbol only appears one other place in the game, and that's on the Anomaly map in Crucible.
Oh, that's interesting.
So I was running around Anomaly, which drives me crazy because there's almost no lore that points to what the Anomaly is.
Right. Just
But
a thing that we can't figure out, so we're fighting around it now.
Yeah. But if you run around that map, which seems dangerous, but I'm sure Shax is thrilled about that. Yeah. If you run around that map, you will notice both the Rasputin Warmind symbol and this second symbol, which could be Charlemagne. So there's a chance that that was a joint Warmind facility designed to study the Anomaly.
Well, that's interesting. I'm gonna have to go try and play that mission again now. Where did you see the symbol? Like, where in the mission?
Well, this is only on that map in Crucible. So
Right.
You'll notice when you run around, it's above a lot of the doors.
Okay.
And it rings that center area. Both those symbols, both Rasputin and this second symbol.
Okay. See, I'm gonna die a lot now because I'm gonna be playing some Clash map or Clash game and just be staring at doors and getting sniped.
So, but it makes me want to go run around and look for that symbol. Like, I'm going back to explore Mars, especially through Clovis Bray, to see if I can find that symbol again. Anywhere else in the game.
Yeah, that'll be a fun little our own little mini quest. So getting back to the core itself, what's interesting is it's got 5 things you got to repair. When you look at the top left one, it basically has to do with the Ishtar Academy and the Ishtar Archives. But what it says is Midnight Exigent, I don't know how to pronounce that. I probably just butchered that. But anyway, and then Ikelos Subroutine Hercules. And so I looked up exigent, again, butchering it. It means pressing or demanding. So basically, it's interesting because in a lot of religious texts and even just nowadays we have, the doomsday clock and it counts down to midnight. Mm-hmm. So midnight's always considered, the extinction event. And so basically, this is Midnight Exigent is, pressing extinction
Yeah.
or near extinction. And so the Ikelos I looked up, and it goes by another name of Phobator, and it's basically a Greek personification of dreams, and it's specifically tied to frightening or nightmarish type things. So basically, this was the nightmare scenario subroutine. That was getting executed here, and then it says, and the subroutine is Hercules, and I don't know a lot about that.
Well, this is interesting because it's Hercules _11, and there was a huge post on the Destiny the Game Reddit that broke down the 10 trials of Hercules, and then the possibility that this _11 represented the 11th trial, which is an amazing tieback to some pretty deep sort of human lore tied into the game lore itself. So it's kind of a fascinating reference going on there.
Yeah, and that's interesting because when you actually get the Sleeper Simulant, let me find exactly what the description is. So the description on the Sleeper Simulant is subroutine Ikelos, status complete, Midnight Exigent, status still in progress. So we're still near extinction, but the Hercules subroutine was complete. And so I'm thinking, Hercules in this case, it might just be referring to this kind of demigod weapon, the Sleeper Simulant. And I guess now you'd hope that everyone got one of these. All the Dvalin Forge army got a final Sleeper Simulant, but you don't know.
That may seem even more dangerous than just getting regular fusion rifles. Those lasers ricocheting everywhere.
Yeah. Yeah, so that's cool. And one other thing to point out is on that Ikelos core, there's a Warsat section, or the bottom 3 are all Warsats. And it's interesting to note that the Warsat for Terra and the Warsat for Luna are Rasputin, but the Warsat for Mars is Charlemagne.
Yes.
And so it's nice to see him in game.
Finally.
And I guess, yeah, that's it. That's really the lore we've got for this. And on the one hand, I'm happy because that is some pretty interesting stuff. And on the other hand, now I'm just sad because I want to know more about Charlemagne, and I want to know more about why Rasputin felt he needed to arm the people and his satellites wouldn't be enough. And now I have way more questions than I did even before this.
Well, there's also the chance that we're not done with this yet. And obviously, the weapon itself is sort of the big goal. Hey, we chased this thing all over the place. We tried really hard. We dug deep and found all this lore and all these rumors and all this possibility and theories. Now we finally have it in our hands. There's a chance that's not the end of the story. Obviously, the Charlemagne and the Rasputin story is ongoing. Rasputin is a major force in the world of Destiny. I'm still trying to figure out why he's so closely tied to the Hive. Man, they love him.
Yes.
And we know...
They keep breaking into that vault no matter how many times we clear it out and seal it up. They can't get enough.
It's crazy. And we know that by scanning certain things in different missions, we know that Oryx fears Rasputin, fears Rasputin's power.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, man, they are chasing... From the very beginning, they have been chasing the Warmind all over the place. And the second question is, after we basically, evicted Omnigul from the Warmind bunker, when we go back in here for this quest, at the very beginning here, man, how are those Taken and Hive getting into the Warmind?
Right, and because Omnigul could warp them in, and the Taken in theory can be warped in themselves, but the Hive Knights, I don't know.
How are they getting in there? So somebody posed an interesting theory that it is Rasputin himself who is letting them in to draw us into Rasputin.
Interesting.
Which is interesting. And earlier, when I went and did this on one of my second characters, I decided to skip that room, and I kept going as if I was going to do the Fallen Saber Strike.
Yeah.
You get all the way to a closed door, but you can hear Fallen behind the door. They show up on your radar, and I could definitely hear the noise of exploder shanks back there. So I'm wondering if now that sort of mission is out there in the wild, could it ever be a daily heroic? And if so, is there more to that story?
Yeah, that's interesting. I guess we'll have to wait and see. But all right, so I say, so we should wrap it up.
All right.
That was our quick little reactions to the Sleeper Simulant. I hope you guys enjoyed it, and we look forward to hopefully having more kind of spontaneous, episodes in the future as Bungie keeps revealing these things.
Yeah, and hey, folks who already have it, get out there with it. Enjoy it. It's a hilariously fun weapon to play with.
Awesome. All right, well, thank you guys, and see you later.
See ya.